It all leads to this. From the top of the funnel to the middle of the funnel, today we're talking about the bottom of the funnel.
I'm Drew Sanford, and this is Stefan Bunch, and today on the Founders Table, we are talking about how to close a sale and make some moolah.
Yeah, this last series has kind of talked about how we need to get people into our funnel from the ethosphere, get people to understand, see who we are, and then get them in the middle of the funnel, understanding our messaging, hearing what we do, how we're working, how we're an expert. Today, we're talking about how to get them to raise their hand and how we can convert that to a close. This is I guess every single aspect of this is challenging, but this is probably the one that the 80% struggle with the most.
There's always those people that you know that you're like, man, they're always lucky, or they're always this, or they're always that. But it's like there's something they do different, and it's not always put your thumb on it, they're this or they're that. It's just a part of your communications and your skills, and learning how to really lock it in and have an idea where you're wanting to go with it. And
so much of it is also systems, literally. Like, there are so many business owners. I mean, in the real estate industry, I can think of all kinds of agents. I feel like they just go by just randomly happenstance. They try to get somebody randomly ends up in a funnel, and they push them through or work them through, and it just seems like, wow, that worked out. How can we replicate that, though? How can we see what we can do, put it in a system format to where we can make it happen?
And this is how you scale your business, right? Like that's the whole point of this conversation and this podcast and things like that, is to make sure you're growing your business. And at the end of the day, the business is working for you, not you working for the business. And this is such a cool part of it. And I think that, this is a constant coaching effort every day, all the time. Asking for leads, asking for business, asking for people to, to ask. You have to have the ask to do that. And I think the number one problem people face with it is, I think salespeople, even if you don't consider yourself a salesman, saleswoman, everything you do is sales in some relation, some factor of the business. So they assume, the number one problem, they assume because I'm a realtor, because I'm a plumber, or, whatever it is at the kids' baseball game, that they're gonna know to use you when you do that. But most people never ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about the first episode of this, I guess, was about how we are all salespeople. Like, you're a business owner, it doesn't matter where you're at in the process, you're a salesperson. And we talked through how to get them into the funnel, how to start messaging to them. But you're totally right. It's always a bummer when you feel like you're messaging, you feel like you're in the right place, and you find out they end up going to another company, they end up using a different agent. And I want us to really talk through how we can make that less and less of an opportunity for us to jump right in and make sure that we are right there at the frame.
My first gut reaction when you say that is, well, let's make sure your middle of funnel is properly working, make sure your top of funnel is properly working, and you're going to have it come down, right? Like, so if you have 100 leads, and that's going to turn to 50 middle of the funnel, and from 50 in the middle of the funnel, you're going to get 5 leads pop out of it. Now, there's a ratio that every business has, and every business is different, right? Like,
depending on the service.
Yeah. My wife owns a company that builds propane delivery trucks, and there's not a lot of people that buy propane delivery trucks, and they don't just drive by the highway and be like, oh, I'm going to buy one of those. That doesn't happen. So her niche is very, very specific. So talking to people and getting them in that funnel, she's going to have a way higher conversion rate than, say, a real estate agent that anybody in the earth can buy a house. Most people can buy a house. Most people that they know own a house, something along those lines. So it just depends on what it is for your ratios. And I think you can't cry when it doesn't work over onesie twosies. But on the same token, if it's a trend, if you think you're in a pretty niche industry and you know a lot of people, and constantly people are going to other businesses that are like yours, and you go, what the heck? There's probably a middle of funnel or top of funnel problem on there. And then a lot of it comes down to closing. So like, if you're not doing a good job with the middle of the funnel and really hitting these people and talking to these people and communicating with these people and doing that, the bottom of the funnel is where the retargeting happens. Our messaging on all our ads changes a little bit. When we do retargeting, that's when people are starting to get towards the bottom of the funnel, because they were aware of us, or they maybe heard about us, and then all of a sudden they identified themselves. So then they've got that middle of the funnel ads running to them. They've talked to somebody, a referral of this or that, and then all of a sudden I get them on retargeting campaigns, things like that, and then all of a sudden they identify, and then to me, pop, that's a bottom of the funnel situation. You can still booger it up. You got plenty of ways to booger it up, but we're going to talk through that.
Well, it's hysterical because as a business owner, it's like all this conversation, you got into the business because you're an electrician. because you know that skill. You are great at that craft. The whole conversation of the last 3 episodes has been about everything except for your actual job, your actual duty. It's been about people getting into the funnel. And so it's funny because closing, a big part of it is this is where your craft comes into play. Like, how do you get them to the closing table and make sure that after you do the service that you've done a good job to where they will utilize you and refer you. But I think the hardest thing for people, especially in oversaturated markets, is how to ask for the business. Like, it's funny. We can message, we can be top of mind, we can be there, but so many people miss it when they just fail to actually ask for business or ask for referrals.
And everybody wants a magic pill, and there is none if you ask me. You know, you can build the greatest funnels, you can build the greatest systems, and you can build the greatest things. At some point, you got to put your money where your mouth is, and you're going to communicate with these people. And ideally, in a perfect world, you can have it all digitally and go to this and go to that, and you get all the business in the world. Yeah, there's some one-offs that really do a good job of that. Most business owners, especially watching this, they're mom and pop businesses. They're people that are real. They don't have bajillion-dollar automated systems running for them all over the thing with unlimited marketing budgets. So at the end of the day, you got to know your people. And like, I've watched you as an agent, and you're phenomenal at people knowing what you do. And I've watched other agents that are in the process of being phenomenal at doing what they do and letting people know. You have a charisma and a conversational tone about you that everybody knows you're a real estate agent when you're around them. You're kind of the guy in the room that they know that does that. Now, is it because you have podcasts? Is it because you've closed hundreds of millions of dollars of homes? Is it because you're a good guy and everybody likes being around you because they could just tell you're a good guy? Yes, the answer is yes to all of that. You are. But the other part of that is you've got people that aren't as good at reading the room. And I think about some of our people that we're coaching with. And when you get to the bottom of the funnel, you have to use your skill set. You have to use your brain. And not every lead, every customer is the same situation, problem, issue. And I think what happens is when people try to say, okay, step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this, step 4 is this, because this is what I found success in to get people work through. If you talk to me and I've already made my mind up, I don't need you to have me test drive the truck. I'm buying the truck because I've owned 25 of these trucks. Like, I don't need it. So let's skip steps 1 through 4 and let's just talk about the bottom line dollar. And if it's a good deal, let's go buy. You know what I mean? So I think you are really good at when somebody says, oh, I'm thinking about listing, you start rolling into, oh, what's your timeline? What's your this? What's your that? Are you thinking about this? And you ask questions that pose true questions to get you curious and to get them curious, but not necessarily salesy. You're qualifying them to see, are they a now? And I don't need to talk about any of that because I sold their parents a house and they're ready to be a client. And I just got to go over there and say, we're going to come film it. We're going to come get pictures next week. Yeah. Here's the stuff, sign the papers, or whatever's in the middle, or is it a 6-month process to get them there and work through that? And I think one of my favorite things I tell some of our guys is like, at some point when you get them to the bottom of the funnel, the worst thing you can do is talk. Just shut up.
Stop talking.
Just shut up.
The more you talk, the more opportunity there is to mess it up.
To mess it up. So you got to learn when to shut up. I mean, that sounds stupid or bad on our part, but truly as a salesperson, if they've talked themselves into it, they've already justified it to you why they want it. Yeah. Shut up and take their money. Hand them the contract. Slide them the piece of paper. Whatever that looks like, shut up. Because the only thing you can do at that point is screw it up.
Yeah, I'll say this as well. I think starting with questions, somebody raises their hand, hey, I'm interested in this truck. I have a problem with my HVAC. I'm looking at buying a house. I don't know the process. The first thing you do is you ask a few qualifying questions. And then depending on how well you know the person, right off the bat, though, if you can really hone in on what their personality type is, we talk a lot about the DISC assessment. You have demand, you have inspirational, supportive, and compliance. That's the DISC. Okay. And somebody that's coming to you.
Can we spell check that?
It's whatever.
I can't spell many things right. That's one of them.
I'll tell you which one you are in a second. But whenever you are talking to a prospect, you're talking to somebody, they're raising their hand, they're curious, whatever that process looks like, you can, just by asking them a few questions, start to feel out their form of communication, what their personality type is. If it's a D, which you are a high D, that's the demand. That's the CEO. That's just like you said, I don't need you to explain all the details to me. I've already picked out this truck. I've done my research. Just give me the paperwork so I can sign and move on, right? If you're an I, that's a little bit more inspirational. That's like you want to be inspired in the process. You want to hear the story. S is you really want to feel supported through the process. That's a little bit more conversation based. And then C is compliance. That's when you know they're just looking at all the bottom line numbers. They're looking at making sure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. And that's where you want to have the right agent that's working with them or the right person that makes sure that they feel really confident in all the little details.
Yep.
But once you figure out exactly what personality type somebody is, you start to mirror what they're needing. And that helps the process go so smoothly. So you're totally right. If you have a client that's a high D and you keep talking, they're just going to be
shut them down.
Yeah, they're going to be like, I don't want to waste any more time. I'm just going to move on. Just get it done.
Another dealer 30 minutes away. Bye.
But if you have a nice, sweet old lady that really, she needs the support to walk through the process and she wants to tell you her whole story, then the conversation can change for sure. But that's a really good step. Asking the right questions, no matter what business you're in, finding exactly how we can serve them the best, and then helping massage that process through.
And this isn't sleazy. You know what I mean?
No,
like we're not saying
authentic.
mirror them. We're not saying mirror them to persuade them into doing something they don't want to do, but it's recognizing how people act and communicate and talk. And if you're oblivious to that and you don't listen to them, you know, God gave us 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
use it, you know? So you need to understand the people you're around and what you're doing. And I think a lot of salespeople, whether they get nervous or whether it's a big deal for them to get to the situation or they don't care and they get tons of them and they're just bombarded with it. Whatever. I got all the business I need.
Yeah.
You gotta be aware from those standpoints. And
when you get nervous as well, when you're at that point, salespeople tend to talk more.
Yep.
And so really, when you feel like you're talking too much, just take a breath, take a step back, and understand the pause is a good thing.
Yep.
It lets the whole space breathe.
Yep.
So I think that's really important. I also think we talk about this as well, and this is kind of leading up to the bottom of the funnel, but it's so many people, we try to be friends with everybody. You want to be friendly with everybody, but there's this authenticity in knowing that you are providing a service. And at the end of the day, if somebody reaches out to you about providing a service, you're the professional that's stewarding and working through the process. And so when you try to be friends with everybody, there becomes this inauthentic process or issue when it comes to you're trying to be their friend because you're trying to get something out of them. When you are acting like a true professional, they have an issue. You have the way to solve the problem. We're not just trying to make sure everybody's our friend so that they'll use our services.
Yeah.
We're trying to be the professional to walk them that they can trust and they can know, even if it's a hard conversation, they can know we're going to step in that place and we're going to say the right things.
I've always said, you know, when you work with somebody, it's not what they do when it's good, it's what they do when it's bad, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those points is they are trusting you as a professional. Again, whether it's a plumber, whether it's a builder, whether it's a car salesman, whether it's a real estate agent, whatever it is. And even if you can't serve them with your specific job, career, whatever that is, that what you provide, being able to serve them and be the connector is the key, in my opinion, because then all of a sudden they know, I thought I needed a plumber today or a real estate agent today, and it really come to find out I need this person to help me or that person to help me. But my guy or girl helped me make that connection and do that. So now you're already at the top of the mind next time they need you because you helped them do that. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that if you take off the lens of I need to make a sale, I need to make a sale, I need to make a sale, and you say, I'm going to connect people even if they don't need it, because at some point they're going to do that. And guess what? You have a referral net group. You have people that you are with and that refer you business, you refer them business. And if you don't, it's a whole other conversation, but you should be connected with people if you're a professional in that industry to do that. And if you're bouncing ideas around and bouncing customer around, you're going to give some and you're going to take some, and it's going to be a give and take. But those people are in your group and in your ethos, all of them, they're going to use you and they're going to find value in you and want to use you. So I think all this is spot on. I'd like to pivot and talk about actually asking for the business or talking to the business. And what's your theory on that? Like, how do you go about that?
So when we, in our systems that we have for Elevate specifically, We have funnels that are, we have a lead come in, or we have conversations moving, or we've been reaching out to certain people trying to get them into our systems. One of our buckets that we have is two-way communication. Mm-hmm. So if we have a lead comes in, online leads, you never know different ways leads come in. Sometimes people just click, they're just interested, whatever. So you reach out to them. And if you get no form of communication, they go on a nurture plan, they work through that. We have a literal bucket that says two-way form of communication, because if they are interested and then they respond to us, then that's the first sign that this person is now moving to our bottom of funnel. Mm-hmm. It might be a nurture still. It might not be qualified. It might be
the different personality types. They may want to wait 6 months or a year. Say, I'm going to buy a house in 2 years. What do I need to know today? And then you tell them, and 3 months later they own a house. But
and different services have different timelines on that, right? Yep. Somebody that's looking to buy a vehicle, or somebody that needs a tree service, somebody that's HVAC and they need something immediately. There's different forms of that. Mm-hmm. But the first thing that we, in any business, you need to see is when there's two-way communication, that's a trigger in our mind that, all right, now it's time to dig in. So when somebody's raised their hand, they've already asked you for permission to reach out to them.
Yep.
They want to see what resources that you have.
Yep.
When they respond to that again, that means that this person is legitimately serious. Yep. Now it's just the process of qualifying.
And pause for 2 seconds. That means all your ads, your referral networks, any of the top of funnel and middle of funnel things, that's all led to this moment. So It all stacks and adds to somebody's reached out and they're ready to have a conversation. And in today's day and age, that's a big deal. We used to, I watch some of the older business guys, like, they ain't going to text you. You're going to pick up the phone and call them and talk to them. Today, a lot of people text, obviously. But if somebody reaches out, especially in a business setting with a phone call, they're ready to do something more than likely.
Yeah. So the next step from there is, first of all, how do we qualify them? They're in the bottom of our funnel. There is opportunity here. Mm-hmm. It might be something where we qualify them and it's not the right service for us. Mm-hmm. We can refer, we can get them in the right place. It could be something that's down the road. It could be something immediately. So we need to qualify exactly where they're at and really understand how we're going to best communicate to them. Do they need a bunch of our resources to feel very confident, or did they find a house they love and they're like, get out of my way. I just want to find a way to buy this house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so working through that process, asking the right questions, because that is, in my opinion, where most things fall apart. If you have the person that's like, we've been casually looking, this is the house we love. This is what happened with me. Like, we were kind of looking for a house and I saw this one, I heard it was going to hit the market. And I wasn't really in the market, but I was just like, I want to buy this house. And so we got the process together and did it. If I had an agent that was like, well, let's slow down here. Let's figure out the solutions. Let's go through all the things.
Never got it.
I would have been like, next one. Like, this is what my focus is. Mm-hmm. But if I'm just starting the process, then I'm not, and I'm curious in the process, and I'm like, I want to really do some diving on different neighborhoods, just moved here, like, before I really buy something, I want to really understand the situation, then it's going to be a different form of communication altogether. We're going to get them our neighborhood resources. We're going to walk them through the process. And so it's really, if you miss that communication right off the bat, that can be a huge hindrance to you immediately.
Yep. And I think that's probably one of the top problems people have, is not reading the room to see what people are wanting to do and then not making decisions to answer their question. Because at the end of the day, they want to be heard. They want to make sure that you know what you're doing. And then you got to make sure that your service is going to fit their need to make sure everybody's happy at the end of the day.
It's so funny because it's more question-based than answer-based.
Yep.
And I will say right before that, we do a lot of campaigns. Whether it's campaigns to share our brand, we do a lot of marketing campaigns. This last one that we did, we had an immediate text go out and it directly said, hey, we're a real estate agency, so we have to ask, are you or somebody you know looking to buy or sell? Mm-hmm. And we get a ton of no's to that. A ton of responses just saying no.
We had 1,000 people opt in for this, yeah.
And out of that 1,000 people, we had quite a few people that said, I'm interested. I've thought about it, but don't know if I can. I've got a friend that can. My mother's looking. And it was a crazy opportunity that we could have completely missed by having like 30 to 50 leads.
Yeah.
Just because we didn't ask the one simple question.
I'm a huge proponent of being almost too blunt on that. Are you looking to buy or sell? And if they say no, okay, that's fine. But at least they know I asked. And at least I threw my hat in the ring. If they're like, yeah, my uncle's cousin's sister's daughter's a real estate agent. We were talking to them. Well, here's a bunch of our paperwork. Interview 2 agents. You know what I mean? Whatever that conversation is. And it's the same thing in anything. If you don't ask for the business, you're never going to get it. So if you want to sit on the sidelines and not ask, don't be upset when your kids' basketball teammates' parents that you've sat next to for the last 6 years uses somebody else instead of you.
We've had to learn this the hard way as well. In the opportunities where we should have asked for business or should have stated that we're here, I would have people reach out to me and they'll say this phrase. They'll say, hey, I know you guys are so busy. You have a lot going on. I don't know if you can fit me in. And so some people literally, especially if you're doing marketing the right way, they're going to think you're way too busy to fit them in and not feel comfortable and go with somebody else, right?
Yep.
And they don't understand you have the systems behind you. You have the processes to where you can actually support them in a real way and honor that relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so for us, it's not only making the ask, but it's letting people know that, I mean, this is what we do.
Yep.
And we've built the
We're
systems
available.
to
We
make
wanna
sure
help.
this is done right. And we have the compliance to make sure that everything is done really well. And so we got to make sure that they also know, hey, they might see you because you're all over the place because you've done a killer job marketing, but they might think, well, you're just too busy for me. And so you also have to communicate, look, if you're looking to buy or sell, we're here for you, and we're not too busy for you as well. We have the systems to support that.
Yep.
So that's been something we've had to learn here recently.
Yeah, no, I love it. I hope everybody today enjoyed this and learned something. It's been a fun series. I like it. I mean, this is in my wheelhouse. I love chit-chatting about this.
You know, we had somebody reach out that he owns a really niche company that they sell furniture to like resorts. And I think some of these conversations, like with real estate, it's pretty easy to have these conversations, or with plumbing, because you have such a wide range of humans that are looking for those services. Everybody is going to have to move somewhere at some point. Everybody needs a plumber. Everybody needs an electrician. But it's been cool to hear like your wife's business, some of these other businesses have conversations that are in very niche situations. And honestly, when you're in such a niche, it's almost like you can put fuel to the fire.
Oh gosh, it's fun too.
If you can really implement these things, now you have, instead of having thousands of potential prospects in a city, now you have like 1,800 or 500 in the nation, and you can put all of the effort right to those individuals.
And now technology is so great that really allows you to communicate and do that really well. So it's fun. We live in a cool time.
So if you have a niche business, we would love to have a conversation as well. We just talked to that guy. He might be joining us eventually. I think we're going to have a call with him pretty soon as well. But if you have any questions on how to make sure that your systems are really strategized well, you're flowing, there are especially like you've got manufacturing background, there's so many moving pieces. When you get employees that might not have the same vision as you, and how do you get them on board, but also how do you make sure that the processes are going smoothly, reach out to us. We would love to have a conversation. What we've been building, we're building it for a few businesses. We've been utilizing it in our own businesses. We're branching out in some areas. We're like legit seeing the results of it. And it's a game changer for our business, for the business that we support. And so we'd love to have conversations on that front as well. So thanks for joining us. We are excited for our future conversations. So stay tuned. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the little button to where every time we post, you'll get a notification as well. See ya.